What's going on, everyone? It's your boy Savvy. Welcome back to the Savvy Show. And in today's episode, it looks like we're going to get a lot of information about the SCP Foundation, more specifically, how they make their money. What we got today is how does the SCP Foundation actually make money? So almost since I covered SCPs, I always thought about that. Like when we see new SCP that, they can't move to a site, they have to build a site around that SCP. How much money goes into those sites? That's a lot of money. Plus, like all the people on their payroll and all the people dying, like what they have to do for the families to I know they could do the brainwashing and everything, but for example, like life insurance, I'm sure they have to pay that out for each individual, and it's not like the turnover rate ain't high, D classes and agents too. So it's a lot going on that I'm excited to see the answers that it will give us today. So with that all out the way, if you guys are excited for this reaction and you do enjoy it along the way, please remember to smash that like button for me. Also smash the sub button, don't forget that, and then hit that bell so you do not miss an upload. And also let me know in the comment section below, were you as curious as finding out how the SCP made their money as much as I was, because I was so clueless, but I just figured, they get money from the government somehow, or they tie deals with them. So who knows? That might be the answer, but we're going to find out. So with that all out the way, let's get this show started. How does the SCP Foundation actually make money?
It is an old adage that money makes the world go round. And when you work for the SCP Foundation, that same money can keep the world from ending. Think for a second about the kind of absurd bills that the SCP Foundation racks up.
So much.
They need to pay for the upkeep on hundreds of facilities while also paying for thousands of employees, as well as stipends for the families of the many members of personnel who are killed in the line of duty.
Exactly.
They also need to pay for the equipment required to do their jobs, a lot of which they need to develop themselves, as well as the expenses of varied containment procedures for well over 6,000 different anomalies.
For real.
Each one requiring its own unique treatment. And that's not even factoring in the costs of their various experiments, vehicles, weaponry, and cover-up operations. To say the Foundation would need billions upon billions of dollars to do what they do is probably lowballing it.
Yeah.
So today we feel like asking the big question. How does the SCP Foundation make all this money?
Okay.
Because personally, we just don't think the biannual Foundation bake sale is going to cover the price tag on this thing.
Obviously.
First, we're going to explore the different ways the Foundation probably brings in its obscene budget through more traditional means. But if you stick around to the end, we'll explore some of the much more strange and exciting ways the Foundation can financially exploit its vast cache of anomalies.
Okay. That's great. And I hope it doesn't turn out to be like the SCP animation that we covered of what is the biggest SCP, because I feel like that one was just, no offense, a complete mess. Like the list wasn't as accurate as I thought it would be. Not even close. So hopefully they don't beat around the bush with this.
As well as a way that you, that's right, you, can help. So buckle up as we tackle the most terrifying monster of all, budgeting. The most obvious means the Foundation has of scraping up a little extra cash is to cooperate with world governments. Obviously, the SCP Foundation isn't a puppet of the United Nations like the GOC. It operates with a high degree of autonomy that prevents its work from ever being biased by certain national or international interests. However, in order to do its work properly, it does collaborate with various governments across the globe.
I figured as much.
Naturally, as a result of this, it does receive assisted funding from governments when combating or containing anomalies that would present a threat to their national security.
That's the easy answer.
Think of it as a classic you scratch my back, I scratch yours situation. But seeing as people would notice every single government on Earth farming out billions of dollars for seemingly no reason that the profit could account for, it's clear that this only accounts for one of the SCP Foundation's multiple income streams. Where else is all the money coming from? Well, a phrase you've probably heard a lot on the videos on this channel is front businesses. As any members of the Mafia in our audience will already know, a front business is a seemingly legitimate company used to hide the operations of a more secretive or illicit business going on behind the scenes. Typically, it's a boon for organized crime syndicates who need to justify the purchases of certain personnel or equipment, or launder ill-gotten gains into clean, legitimate taxable revenue streams.
Drug trafficking.
Cause trust us, kids, the only 3 letters scarier than SCP are IRS. The SCP Foundation makes use of a huge number of front organizations to both hide its operations and supplement its income, from chemical plants to office buildings to local bakeries. It is impossible to know just how many normal industries technically answer to the O5 Council high enough up the chain. For all you know, you could already be an employee of the SCP Foundation without even being aware of it. Income generated by the various front companies used by the Foundation are likely to make up a good chunk of their budget. Another key factor in the Foundation's profitability is technology. Given that the Foundation has gathered some of the greatest scientific and engineering minds in the world to protect humanity from anomalous forces, it goes without saying that they create some incredible technology, which may later trickle down into wider commercial and civilian use. And before you start saying this is crazy, it's actually an incredibly common practice with regular militaries all over the globe. Duct tape, superglue, GPS, silly putty, EpiPens, microwaves, and the internet were all made possible by military advancements. And with the Foundation having technology so advanced it puts even the most well-funded militaries to shame, it's sure to have some lucrative patents floating around out there. Not to mention the fact that the Foundation has also reclaimed and repurposed anomalous technology that surpasses even their own.
That's actually cool, but I hope maybe if they actually use SCPs, like for example, to build new sites or to, create assets that they can, turn into money, like maybe gold, or like using the butler, for example, the handbell, where he could get whatever you want. Maybe you could ask him to get you a pot of gold. Who knows? Like, you could do certain things to, get money. It might not be ethical, but hey, keeps the Foundation going.
Which may influence some incredibly profitable consumer goods further down the line. Which is a nice segue to the next portion of this video. Utilizing captured anomalies for fun and profit. Well, mostly profit in this case. This is the much more fun and theoretical half of things, where we speculate on which SCPs would bring in the biggest bucks to fill the coffers of the SCP Foundation.
What did I just say? Wow, I should just be quiet and watch, shouldn't I?
And of course, stick around to the end for the most important money-making method of all. It won't be what you expect. First, SCP-096. We know what you're thinking. How do we monetize a mindless killing machine? Simple. We stand someone in front of it and make them look at its face, then position 096 onto a treadmill attached to a series of powerful generators. Given that 096 literally never gets tired, we will have invented a true perpetual motion machine.
Wow.
And the energy generated by this could replace the municipal power grid.
That's creative.
That's surely got to be worth a few bucks, right? United States government, the Foundation awaits your call. Okay. Let's get a little more serious. Have you ever heard the expression, a penny saved is a penny earned? Because as previously discussed, one of the major costs of the Foundation is labor. However, SCP-662, the butler's handbell that summons the unfailingly loyal Mr. Deeds, could solve this issue.
I am on it today. No cap. Like, I really am on it. They're using almost every SCP that I thought of, besides the Shy Guy. That one was just kind of goofy. But this is the one that first came to mind.
You may be thinking, sure, Mr. Deeds can replace the labor of a couple people, but not that many. He's got physical limitations. To which we would answer, what about SCP-662 put through SCP-914, the Clockworks, on Friday? We'd wager that this might lead to a bell that summons an even more effective Mr. Deeds, or better yet, multiple Mr. Deeds.
This one's so useful.
You could only imagine the money the SCP Foundation would save.
So useful.
Upon request, he can also manifest bricks of pure gold.
Okay, I'm done. What did I just say earlier? A pot of gold. Okay. Yo, are they like reading my what's really going on here? This is ridiculous now. No, for real. Yo, come on. That's actually kind of creepy.
That literally pays for himself. But enough about Mr. Deeds. Let's talk about you. Are you happy? Fulfilled? Do you know why you're here?
No.
A lot of people struggle with finding a sense of purpose in life. It can make it difficult to form and actualize your goals. If only it was easy to know your greatest desire, so you could finally get your life together and start working on it. Thankfully, the Foundation could help. For a price. What? You can't blame them for a little #hustle. With SCP-978, the Desire Camera, they could help people figure out what their deepest desire is. But that's not the only way to make money from this anomalous device. By taking pictures of the rich and powerful, and seeing if their desires are compromising, humiliating, or even illegal, you can quickly solicit some very generous donations out of them in exchange for keeping this juicy information under wraps.
Blackmail.
Podcasts are big these days, with incredibly popular ones like the Joe Rogan Experience getting around 11 million downloads per episode.
Sheesh.
People love hearing a compelling interview or a good story. That's why, to make a little money on the side, we recommend the Foundation give SCP-1867, a talkative telepathic sea slug who goes by Lord Blackwood, his own podcast.
Okay, so this just seems like hypotheticals. Yes, this could happen, obviously, but they're not doing this. They're not doing this to make money. They're talking about ways they could make money doing this. I want to know actual ways they're bringing in the bacon. Like, not just potential ways that they could actually bring the bacon. Because we already know this stuff. I want to know how they actually making money.
Where he would spin wild yarns, interview celebrity guests, and perhaps even host chats with other interesting SCPs.
Oh, also, if I'm wrong, and this does happen, and this is one of their other stream of incomes, which I just feel like the delivery just seems like they're talking about ways they could, gain more income through SCPs. If I'm wrong, then let me know in the comment section below, but it seems like that's the case. It doesn't seem like they're already doing this or implementing it in any way.
All while the Foundation cleans up on sweet podcast sponsorship revenue. What, are you telling us you wouldn't tune in? I would.
Yeah, you wouldn't tune in, meaning like if they did this, you wouldn't tune in. Not why aren't you watching it? Because it's not a thing at all.
SCP-5094, Miss J's WizKid Schoolhouse, could also be converted into expensive, over-the-counter proprietary software. Think of the money that companies like Skillshare and Masterclass rake in.
Yes,
Miss J could guarantee perfect learning through her intensive courses, and once the word of her efficacy spreads, she might even replace traditional higher education. And who would be the financial beneficiary? The SCP Foundation.
Yes.
Then there's SCP-2430, the immortal Hitler clone.
That one too.
He's unable to die, but feels pain at a heightened degree of sensitivity than most normal people. He's also, no getting around this, Hitler. And if the Foundation were able to go public about the existence of this clone, they could also take him out on tour across the globe.
Okay, it seems like this video is like kind of misleading. It's not like I don't like it, but the video is how does SCP Foundation actually make money? Not how could the SCP Foundation make money? I mean, that would make more sense because, it wouldn't be that intriguing. At least for me, because I know a lot about SCPs, at least in this moment in time, where, I could think about a few ideas, but it doesn't really answer the question how they're really bringing in money, all their methods. Maybe they're trying to keep it under wraps, but that's not answering the question, really. Besides, government assistance, I figured that, but, there must be other ways.
And charge 10 to 15 bucks to punch him. People would be lining up to take a crack at the ex-Führer, and the Foundation would, of course, be the sole financial beneficiaries. Now, let's talk about pizza. The most popular pizza chain in the United States, as of this writing, is Domino's, with annual revenue of just over $14 billion. What we're wondering is, why doesn't the SCP Foundation want a slice of that lucrative pizza pie? After all, they're in possession of SCP-458, the never-ending pizza box.
Saw that one coming.
This bad boy, capable of producing nearly limitless quantities of pizza, they could surely start making a pretty pepperoni penny. Lego products are also a multi-billion-dollar industry, pointing towards a clear desire in the market for these charming, colorful blocks. And there's no Lego like SCP-387, the living Lego.
Yep.
Hardcore Lego enthusiasts all over the world would pay through the nose to experience a product like this. And seeing as they're completely safe, in both SCP nomenclature and the more colloquial sense of the phrase, the Foundation wouldn't need to worry about any lawsuits from concerned parents. They'd only need to worry about where to put all their fancy new stacks of cold hard cash. For those desiring a little escapism, the Foundation could rent out SCP-1230, A Hero is Born. This book takes its readers on fabulous bespoke dream adventures through fantastical lands, and will surely give them an experience that will last long after they finally wake up. In a world where people are willing to pay top dollar for VR experiences and creepy Facebook metaverses, being able to enter the wondrous land of dreams is a welcome low-tech solution that would still likely make the SCP Foundation boatloads of new income.
With almost any SCP, you could, make money off of them. They're all unique in their own right. Just, come on now.
However, we live in a stressful world. Modern life has come with its wealth of new personal issues, from work troubles to the dating game. And connectivity has come at the cost of having an ever greater awareness of the troubles that plague the world at large. With costs making a lot of valuable therapy and medications unavailable to many, it's no wonder that we're undergoing a global mental health crisis. But the Foundation has a solution. SCP-999. Spend long enough time with him and he'll straight up cure everything from depression to PTSD. People all over the world would pay top dollar to achieve an immediate and effective cure to all mental maladies that only takes a few hours and has no negative side effects. Like the ultimate therapy dog, the Foundation would be rolling in the dough from an opportunity like this. And, of course, the most devious, ingenious, and overall effective method that the SCP Foundation could possibly use to make money is creating YouTube channels that pretend to just be sharing the fictional monsters and entities of a made-up online fiction project. when in fact, they're actually secretly leaking the highly classified secrets of their own organization, while selling adorable, high-quality merchandise of some of the most lovable and iconic creatures.
I like what they did
We
there.
can't think of any method more valuable than that. Anyway, on a completely different note, did you know that you can get your very own adorable...
Okay, yep, let's skip this. Alrighty.
And of course, if there are any other highly profitable anomalies you'd like to see in plush form, do take the time to make your suggestions heard down in the comments. Now, if you'll excuse us, we need to head off.
Is this it?
After all, time is money. Now go.
Okay, as I figured, yeah, this doesn't answer the question. This was a cool video explaining how SCPs can, make the Foundation money, but that doesn't answer the title of this video. How does the SCP Foundation actually make money? Not how could they? I don't know. This was cool and all, but it was misleading. I don't want to beat around the bush about that. But yeah, it was a cool reaction. Let me know what you guys thought about it. If you guys assumed we will actually find out ways they would make money, or if you guys figured that they would just talk about methods how they could make money with SCPs. Because almost all these ones I figured, and it's a no-brainer, man. So, with that out of the way, I hope you guys all enjoyed the reaction, at least my honest reaction. Never going to fake it for the family. And also smash the sub button, join the family. Let's try to get, 70 likes on this one. And also hit that bell so you do not miss an upload. And now, with all out the way, fortunately, that concludes today's episode. However, I'll catch you guys on the next one.